Hi everyone, and welcome to another video from Class 47 Peter. And in today's video I'm going to be doing some scenery work on the layout, which is going to focus on the areas that I personally feel are a bit neglected at the moment on the layout. So there are a few areas on the layout that I do think could do with a bit more added scenery, such as this area here where you got this incline where the narrow gauge railway runs up. This incline here also could do with some more scenery. I think some static grass in that area will look quite nice. There's also this area here that has no detail there at all, so I think that could do with some scenery added there. We have this incline here. As you can see, the paint is starting to peel away on it. I have some better paint that I can paint over that, and I think again some more scenery can go there. So first of all we're going to concentrate on this area here, which prior to doing this video I actually did do some experimenting with the puffer bottle, which costs only about a £5. Now I have used it before for static grass, and the last few times, you know, it's worked quite well. There's quite a few areas on the layout where the static grass, it worked, I think, perfectly well. But when it came to trying to put the static grass on this hill where this incline is on the narrow gauge railway, for some reason it didn't work as well. I don't know why, because it's worked quite well before, but for some reason when I applied the static grass I didn't get the effect that I wanted, basically, and it didn't look right. And the very thing I'm going to use to apply the static grass is this homemade static grass applicator. You can buy the static grass applicators, but they are very expensive for what they are. I've seen them go from around £90 up to 100 and over that. So what I thought I'd do instead is I'd make my own, which you can do. There's various different places that tell you how to make them on the internet. I made mine from a fly swatter and a tea strainer, and the best thing about this didn't cost me a penny because I had all the stuff to hand. So I've got my static grass ready in this old food container, and the PVA glue, which I shall be adding on first, and then the static grass. So all the static grass has now been added, and I did at one point worry that I wasn't going to have enough static grass to do all this area, but I did have enough in the end, as you can see, and I still have a little bit left over. So now I've just got to let the glue to set now. You'll have to excuse the masking tape on the rails. That was just there to stop some of the excess static grass getting on the rails. You're probably thinking, couldn't you just hoover it up or brush it off? Well, I could do, but I wanted to avoid that, which is why I put the masking tape on. And I must say, why bother spending all that money on a static grass applicator when you can make one yourself that still achieves excellent results? And the result that this has achieved looks fantastic, and also much better than using that puffer bottle. It did work okay for some certain areas, as you saw earlier in the video, but on this area it never really worked very well, and so this effect is exactly what I wanted. And on the other side I've added some scatter, which the scatter I've used is similar to this, which is sort of like a dark earth colour, almost similar to this stuff I have here. I was thinking about adding some static grass on this side, but I've decided to not do so. I've decided to leave it as it is, which, you know, I think it looks fine the way it is. I think static grass on the one side and that dark earth colour on the other. It's still better than just the green paint with no scenic detail on it at all. And also brushed off some of the static grass off the foliage of what's on the hill there. I've still got some other bits of foliage to add back. So now I'm going to turn my attention to this area here in front of you. This is not an area I mentioned earlier in the video, but it is an area that is looking rather bare and is in need of some scenic. So I'm going to use some Jarvis dark earth, I think, for this, and then have a bit of static grass in places in this area. So there we are. PVA glue has now been added, and so now I'm going to add the Jarvis Countryside Scenics Dark Earth. Okay, so the dark earth has been added, and so I'm going to let the glue dry. Then I'm going to add on some of the treated PVA glue, and then I shall add some static grass in this area. I'm not going to add much because I still want to have some of the dark earth shown in places. So whilst I leave that little area to dry, I'll turn my attention back to this area. I have added the foliage back. Do excuse the shadows. So I've added the foliage back where it was last time. Mostly, anyway. Some other extra bits have been added as well. Just to make it look a bit more natural. So this area is now pretty much done. So now I'm going to turn my attention to this area here, which I do think is looking a bit plain and tired, I think, and I think it is in need of some scenery. So I'm going to get this area done up, I think. So this area has now been done, which I did off camera because, I mean, considering the area I'm standing in, which I'll just show you here, it would be very awkward to film me adding the scatter on, to be honest, because there isn't a lot of room where I'm standing. So, I mean, because I have already on camera filmed me adding some of the scenery already, so it doesn't really hurt to not always show me adding it. But then, to be honest, in situations like this, I'd rather not film it on camera and do it off camera so I can get it exactly right and how I want it to, than filming it on camera in a place that's a bit awkward for me to film and do it at the same time, which could lead me to making a pig's ear of it all and not being happy with it. So I'd much rather do it off camera at times than do it on camera. I have added some foliage in places as well, just in certain areas. And I've also added a couple of bluebells as well, which are from Serious Play, that you just peel off and stick on yourself. I've also added some foliage over there as well, as you can see. You have to excuse that sign that's fallen over. I will glue that back in place afterwards, because the glue is currently drying, which I have sprayed the PVA glue on, the treated stuff that I used to put on top of the scatter. So that area is now looking much better. So with the glue now dry in this area, I am now going to add some static grass, which I have just here, that's left over. But I'm not going to add all of it into this area, because the effect I'm trying to achieve is having some areas where you can still see the dark earth colour, basically the soil. So I don't want to cover this whole area up with static grass. So what I did today was, when I went down the park, my local park, I actually took some photos of some areas in the grass where you can see the soil for reference. So I'm hoping that, fingers crossed, I can pull this off, because this is going to be the first time I've ever attempted to even achieve something like this. So fingers crossed. Okay, so this is now the finished area, and I must say, considering it's the first time I've ever attempted to try and do an effect like this, I think I've actually pulled it off very well. It isn't easy to do or to get right, I'll be honest, and it's the only time I'm gonna attempt to do an effect like this, if I'm honest, but it's exactly as I wanted it to look. As you can see, I haven't totally covered it all with scatter, well, with static grass I should say rather, because you can still see the earth in places. But what I've done is I've used that static grass I showed you earlier, but also I sprinkled some of that static summer green grass flock that I have. So basically there's two different colours in there. It really does bring it out more, I think. And also this was all sprinkled on entirely by hand. I didn't use that homemade static grass applicator for this, but yet just look at the effect. Now it was a bit of a gamble doing this, I'll be honest, but that has come out really well. I mean, I think the results on that are excellent. So I think now I'm going to turn my attention to all this area here. I have to excuse the sun, because I do think some of it could do with scatter, especially around this area here and inside there. I also think some scatter could be added in that area there by the narrow gauge railway, and up along there, and also definitely there. And I might also redo the scatter in the field as well, add some more scenery back in there. Possibly, we'll see. But I think what I'm going to definitely do first is turn my attention to this area, which I can film me doing that on camera. Okay, so that little area is now done. I have already applied the treated PVA glue, which I've sprayed on using this spray bottle. And so I'm going to leave that glue to dry. And I think that that little area over there has been much improved now. Because you see, if you have the same colour of scenery and grass in all the areas in one area, then it doesn't look right. I mean, if you're wondering which manufacturer of static grass I'm using, I've used the Gauge Master Spring Static Grass Flock, which is in this tub, which I've still got quite a lot left actually, and it's the same stuff that I've used in that area over there that I just did. So you've got some greens in the garden, and those two gardens over there, and these gardens here. See, it doesn't matter that they've got the same type of grass, that's fine, but everywhere else, you know, it doesn't look right. So it does help to add a lot more different variety of colours to the scenery. So like I said, you've got some green over here in the gardens, and then over this area here you've got some yellow as well as over there. So that little area has now been done. Now this little area behind this building, I was originally thinking about putting some new scatter on there, but then in the end I decided no, I'm going to leave it as it is. But what I did do is hoover up a lot of cobwebs, etc. that was all on this area here, so I've tidied it up a bit. And what I've also done is I've added some foliage and a couple of bushes in place as well. Right, so my attention is now going to be turned to this little area running all the way along here by the cable trunking on the main line. That area could do with adding some more static grass, to be honest with you. As you can see, the area is looking a bit bland. Only this little bit of area that runs across in front of the cable trunking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the leftover static grass that I've got here, which I used in the beginning of the video, and I hope there's going to be enough to finish that little area off. Okay, so I've added the static grass along that little area, along the front of the cable trunking. You see, it's little areas like that that, you know, get much improved once you've added scenery. Well, the whole layout gets improved when you've added scenery, but you know what I mean. However, that little bit of scatter I'd left over in the tub, we actually ran out of whilst doing this. So I then added some of this, which I also got from Hobby Rail in Sutton Coldfield. This is Pico Scene Static Grass, and this is the 6mm Wild Meadow. There's quite a lot there, and I shall be using that in other areas on the layout as well that I plan to use it for. And over here, well, that looks excellent, I think. And so yeah, that area now is much improved. Right, so now my attention shall turn to this area now, this hill that's just outside the station there, which the narrow gauge railway runs on top of. I've decided this area is going to be sort of redone. All them bushes are going to be ripped off, and that hill is going to be given a repaint, and there's going to be static grass added along the bottom just here. So I'll get cracking with that. So the static grass has been laid down now, and I've squirted all the treated PVA glue on it with the spray bottle, and I think that area now is looking much better. I think on the hill I'm thinking of possibly adding maybe some rocks, possibly, or some foliage. I haven't decided yet, but I'm really quite pleased with the static grass. And again, I have used the Pico Wild Meadow static grass, and I am actually quite pleased with the effect. I am going to add some other bits of detail to the area where the static grass is. I have got quite a few ideas in mind for that area, but that area is now mostly done, at least for adding the static grass it is anyway. So there are two areas that I've just finished. There's this area here, which was in need of some scenery detail because there was nothing there at all, just green paint, so that's now being sorted. And then there's that little bit just at the side there of the bridge, just over there. The glue has just been applied to both of them, and again this was done off camera because of the area basically that I'm standing in, which, if I'm honest, it's a bit awkward to film and be doing this at the same time, so that's why I did it off camera. But both areas are now looking much better. There's still some other stuff to do, but it's all getting there. And also I have actually moved the shed out of the way, so I could make things more easier. And again, the grass I've used for both those areas is the Pico Wild Meadow static grass, which I've nearly used all of it up. Okay, so when I came into the shed this morning, I decided that these areas along here, where the narrow gauge railway runs into the tunnel, I thought that these areas could do with adding some more scenery to them. So I'm going to first of all concentrate on this area over here, where the points are, where this track goes all the way up to the engine shed over there. And so for that area there, I'm going to be using the summer grass flock. I've already used one of the springs up, so I'm going to use the summer one. As you can see, it's gauge master
Again,
well.
I did this off
It's
camera
actually
because,
made by,
well, considering where I'm standing, it'd just be awkward to film and do this area at the same time. So I've done this area off camera, and that's looking really nice now. That is, I think. So that has given it a spruce up a bit. There is that bit of area over there which I'm thinking of. I'm either going to leave the area as it is, or I might put some bit of static grass on there. Might use this stuff, which is the spring static grass, which is a more of a yellow colour, because it is different to the summer static grass that I've just used, which, as you can see, there's a lot left of it still. So I really do recommend this stuff. I mean, for only £3.75, you know, I think that's great value for money. And there's this area to do all along here, which I might go for a similar colour to as it is now, but maybe a dot. In this area where this building is, I forget which building it is now. I think it's a factory of some sort. But I have added some of that Javis Woodland Scenics dark earth in this area here, which looks much better now instead of just the green paint being there. I've also added some down there as well, and added quite a bit of foliage there as well. I was thinking of adding some static grass in this area, but I decided that adding the static grass there wouldn't look right, so I thought adding the earth would be much better, and so I've added that. And also, if you come round to the front just here, that area inside there, you can see I've added what's supposed to be either a pavement
or a bit of road, whichever. And that's just basically a piece of card cut to size and then painted a grey colour and then PVA glued down in place. Okay, so quick update on this area. I have now fixed the sign back in place, as you can see, and over here I've added some foliage in a couple of places, so that's looking really nice now. So now I'm going to turn my attention to this area here, which is one of the main areas that is in need of some scenery. It's this hill which the narrow gauge railway runs on top of. Now there is some scenery there. There's a few bushes and foliage in places, and there's that grass flock at the back there, as you can see. But on the hill itself it's just green paint, as you can see. There's no grass or anything like that on it at all, but that's going to change because today another bag of static grass arrived in the post, and it's the same static grass that I used on this hill here, which you saw in the beginning of the video. So the same static grass will be used on this area, which will look really nice. I've put some masking tape on the track to prevent any excess getting on it and me having to hoover it up later, and I've also put some kitchen tissue down on the track there, on the main line, again to prevent any excess from getting on there and me having to hoover it up later. Okay, so I've finished putting all the static grass on this area, and I have sprayed on the treated down PVA glue. So now it's just a case of letting the glue dry, really. And this area's turned out really well, exactly as I hoped it would turn out. And also added a couple of extra bits of foliage here and there. The only thing is though, I can't add any on this area here because the trains will hit them, as I found that out some time ago. So that area is now done, and it looks much better now that there's some static grass on there instead of just green paint that was starting to flake off a little bit in places. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it there for this video because I think it's gone on for long enough, and I think this video has been long enough for you. So what I'm going to do is this video is going to be split into 2 parts, so we'll pick up where we left off from in part 2 of adding the scenery to Vauxhall Junction. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you may have found it of some interest as well, maybe giving you a few ideas perhaps. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you again soon for the next video. Take care.